Oh Lord, I was struggling with my audio, struggling like I have at Chelsea. Think we're back. We're back. We're back. Now it seems like the audio is working fine. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe, especially if you're new. I will appreciate that. Welcome to Late Night Shenanigans on Arsenal Precinct, where we discuss majorly Arsenal topics, and here and there we discuss other clubs. Uh, what a struggle tonight. Hi guys doing tonight? How is it going? Let me know. You know, it looks like Arsenal are kind of moving differently. Moving kind of different. It's barely 2 weeks to the transfer window, and we are making moves here and there, trying to sign Kai Havertz, Declan Rice, Lavia, Timber. Arsenal actually making moves. Like, I'm impressed. This is not the Wenger time that will wait till almost to the end of the transfer window to make any move. But this time, it looks like after the gains we had from actually bringing in our signings last season, we've learned that when you bring in players and they bed in during preseason, you can carry the momentum into the season and you perform well. So hopefully before preseason, we can bring in the core group of players who want to bring in to push the team to the next level. And I believe that after a relatively successful season last season, we can actually push to the next level. Even some people debate that last season wasn't successful because we didn't win a trophy. I understand that sentiment, but there's nuances and context to this conversation. Like, it's not black and white sometimes, right? I get it, we didn't win a trophy, but on the other side, the improvement we made, the young players improved. Competing with Man City was not an easy feat. Like, Liverpool couldn't do it, Manchester United couldn't do it, Chelsea couldn't do it. We were the only team that actually gave Manchester City a run for their money. So when these conversations are being had and people want to actually come in bad faith and say, "Oh, we didn't win a trophy, so we didn't have a good season," that's actually very low leveled conversation. That's actually being very disingenuous. Like, there's certain things statistics cannot measure, but we can say with the obvious eye, observable reality can tell you. Like, you can't tell me you didn't see that's not improve the playing style, the amount of goals we scored. Uh Defensively, we're better than the previous season, and we're going to improve this season. And if you actually look at all the teams around us, if we decide to start the English Premiership tomorrow, Arsenal will still be the only team to compete with Man City. Let's be real. Even though we're not the rival fans, we're not. It's part of tribalism. They want to give you your kudos, but you cannot deny the fact that that's not improving. And this season, I hope we can move further than just improve. Than I would love us to win the English Premiership, but it won't be easy. Man City are a juggernaut. They're experienced. They won the T-shirt. They actually won the treble. But on the other side, they just lost Gundogan to Barcelona today. It looks like Bernardo Silva will be leaving the club, so they're a bit depleted. We know they have the resources to actually replace those players, and let's see how they can replace those players efficiently and efficient. Let me just stick with efficiently and see what they can do. Regardless of how we rate Pep, I think he's for me arguably the best manager right now. But you still need the quality of player to deliver the the instructions on the pitch. So let's see how it will go. Now let's go to today news regarding Arsenal. Uh, Arsenal have just made a signing in Kai Havertz. Now, let's talk about Kai Havertz. I am not going to deny the fact that, yes, Kai Havertz has not done well as a player at Chelsea. I'm not stupid, right? I'm not an idiot to admit that based on what we saw from him at Chelsea, that was impressive. I agree. But we know in recent history, nobody is doing great at Chelsea. Can we just be truthful? In recent history, nobody is doing it at Chelsea. Chelsea, they look like a graveyard for strikers. Aside from Diego Costa and Didier Drogba, strikers are not making hill at Chelsea. Strikers are being killed off at Chelsea. Let me mention a few: Caseman, Crespo, Timo Werner, Lukaku. All these players have struggled at Chelsea. So we can't just erode that and pretend that we don't know that. And the fact that Arsenal fans are actually joining the rival fans to banter their own club is is laughable. The reason why most of Arsenal fans are actually not happy with this signing is not because they don't rate him at all. It is because they've been bantering Kai Havertz for a long time. So they look like idiots right now, trying to swallow their banter and try to say, okay, let's give the player a chance. It is a matter of pride. Kai Havertz is 24. He is not a 29 year or a 30-year-old player. He is 24, a German international. Give him a chance. If Arteta wants him, I'm ready to give him all the benefit of the doubt. Like, I am not going to write him off. See, if you go by the fans' logic, right? They wrote off Ramsdale. They said he had 2 relegations, so he could never be good enough for Arsenal. I remember Arsenal fans fighting tooth and nail, saying Maddison will be a better fit than Odegaard. I remember people will swear with their last blood that Maddison was going to be a better fit, that Arsenal should actually pay the extra buck for Maddison than wait for Odegaard. I remember Royale, the right back at Spurs, people prefer that to Tomiyasu. Like, I understand we have opinions, right? And managers are not always totally right, but they know more than you, especially behind the scenes. There is something Arteta is saying in this guy. You might not see it, but there's something he's saying in this guy. And you cannot convince me that you know better than Arteta. I'm sorry. There's a reason why he's there and you're not there. I'm not saying every time your opinions are totally wrong. No, I'm not saying that. Let's weigh them. You are not a manager. I know some of us are watching enough football to actually make informed decisions regarding certain players. But at the same time, if you're going by that logic, you should be able to tell that the fact that a player doesn't work in a certain team doesn't mean he won't work in another team. Because sometimes systems make players look better and perform better and have better output. Mo Salah comes to mind. De Bruyne comes to mind. These players were not. Like, if you go by your narrative, these players flopped at Chelsea. They flopped at Chelsea. But they went to Man City and Liverpool respectfully, and we know what they did with those teams. We know Henry flopped at Juventus. He came to Arsenal, and the rest they say is history. I remember in those days when Dennis Beckham was signed from Inter Milan, even though that was not a social media era, the newspapers were calling him a waste of money. So sometimes we just need to give these players the benefit of the doubt, especially if our managers or coaches want them. There's a reason they want them. There's a reason Arsenal is paying almost £60 million on this player. You can't tell me Arteta is willing to just gamble without having certain informations or having the conviction that he can do something with Kai Havertz. See, one question I would love the Arsenal fans who do not rate him or want him as Arsenal to answer: what would you prefer to come off the bench if we're playing a Man City, a Chelsea, a Liverpool, a Madrid, or one of the Milan teams at the 75 minutes? And Nketiah or Kai Havertz? Let's be honest. Who would you prefer to come off the bench? I would like to know, who you prefer to come off the bench? A Kai Havertz or any Ketia? If someone can answer that question for me truthfully, like, who would you prefer to come off the bench? Eddie Nketiah or Kai Havertz? I just want to know. Let's be real. Let's be objective. A lot, I'm sure over 80% of us will prefer a Kai Havertz off the bench than Eddie Nketiah. This is not me deriding or demeaning Eddie Nketiah, but in terms of quality, come on, let's be real. Kai Havertz is a better choice than Eddie Nketiah. Eddie Nketiah tried his best last season. We could all come to the summation that his best was not just good enough. He's a decent player, but for the next level, we'll be playing the Champions League and the English Premiership simultaneously next season, and we'll be competing to win for, or at least being in top four and have a respectable campaign in the Champions League. And I'm sorry, we can't do it the likes of Eddie. No, not at this level. He's a good player, but the level for me is higher. And Kaiva can play on the left, on the right as a false nine, and sometimes he can play as a 10. So we are buying a player who is very versatile and can give you a performance at the high level, provided he's playing the right system. He has a decent pace. He has good dribbling abilities. For me, it will be the tallest attacker we have in the team. He's good with his area abilities. So you can't see. I still understand your reservations. I still understand your concern about the 3 years at Chelsea. But at the same time, like I said at the beginning of the stream, look at the amount of strikers at Chelsea who didn't perform well. There is something fundamentally wrong at Chelsea concerning strikers. Aside from Diego Costa and Drogba, I don't remember any striker who has actually hit the highs at Chelsea, and that's just facts. That's not me speculating. That's not just my opinion. Those are facts. So I will not, in a hurry, write off Kai Havertz because of his stints at Chelsea. No, that'll be very naive and that'll be very narrow-minded. So I still have my belief that Kai Havertz can actually come to Arsenal and rip it up. And I will love him to shut down the Chelsea fans who are just mocking him. No, most of these Chelsea fans are just con ex-lovers, right? It's like when you and your ex part ways, suddenly you were never good in bed. Suddenly your whatever is small. Like, come on. You can't say you don't rate him. And you have so much vitriol for this guy. If you don't rate him, let him go in peace. Grab your money in peace. But no, they're still talking about him and deriding him, calling him all kind of names. Some people are having a departure party for Kai Havertz, forgetting that he still plays in the league. I would just love the fact that he will go to Stamford Bridge and rip it apart. That will be very exciting for me as an Arsenal fan. And I'm sure the motivation will be there for him to go there. No, and just nick it into their faces. So I'm looking forward to watching Kai in Arsenal colours give us the performance we deserve. I remember when I saw this story earlier today, Arsenal have reached an agreement in principle with Chelsea to sign Kai Havertz. Deal for 24-year-old German international is worth around £65 million. Personal terms are already in place. Attacker medical will follow in due course. So hopefully in the next few days, he should be doing his medical and being announced as an Arsenal player. So according to David yesterday, Arsenal plus Thomas Partey can both work in on potential exit solutions if suitable opportunity arises for sale, interest from clubs in Saudi Arabia and Arsenal FC considering options. will require replacement in addition to Declan Rice's pursuit. This one for me, uh, I am not totally excited about. I would love to keep Thomas Partey, but I understand why Arsenal and the hierarchy want to move him on. He has, since he came into the club, his availability have been very, very questionable. Injuries here and there. And when we need him at the business end of the season, it tends to break down. So I'm sure Arteta is kind of tired of this. So I can see why Arsenal would love to move him on and bring in a player who can be more stable, a player that can give us more, a player we can rely on in terms of availability and quality of performance. So let's see how that one goes with Thomas Partey potential departure from the club. Now let's look at this story that came out 2 hours ago, according to at Team News and Text on Arsenal's bid for Declan Rice. West Ham rejected the first bid and said they wanted more upfront. So the second bid is actually the same amount, but it will have been more upfront with less payment. The first bid was 80 million pounds over 6 windows, so 30 million each time, which would have done West Ham no favors. Like, we don't totally know what's in those bids, so these are all speculations, and I'm not going to take them all too seriously. Arsenal have bid twice for Declan Rice, and West Ham have knocked them back. Let's see. I still believe Arsenal will get this deal done. I don't know how quick they'll get it done, but I am very confident Arsenal will get this deal done. When it comes to negotiations, things can be a bit sticky, can take a bit of time. I don't know why a lot of Arsenal fans are so much in a hurry. It's barely 2 weeks in transfer window. It's not yet time for preseason. I am very confident before preseason this deal will get done. And don't let the fact that some of these journalists are actually threatening and giving us now fans jitters by mentioning that Manchester City might be interested or may make an approach. Nah, that's on briefing from the West Ham journalists trying to push so that Arsenal can actually pay more and get this deal done as quick as possible. You know the likes of Richard Garlick and Edu would not fall for that brickmanship and gimmickry. Like, nah. Aside from that, Manchester City are not known for overpaying. They worked out from the potential deal for Cucurella when Brighton were becoming unreasonable. They worked out on which other did they work out on? I remember they worked out on Cucurella. They worked out on Hurricane when Spurs were becoming very, very irrational. So I will not be surprised. So I'll be surprised rather if Manchester City actually comes in and overpay for Declan Rice. We know Declan Rice is not worth £100 million, but we understand the going rate and the market rate and the English tax. So I understand that. And I think Manchester City just completed the signing of Matteo Kovacic, even though they lost Gundogan to Barca. They might be interested, but I think Arsenal have done enough legwork on this deal since January. And Declan Rice is convinced of the project and he wants to come to not London. And aside from that, for family reasons, he does not want to move out of London. So I'm relatively confident Arsenal will get this deal done. Let's just be patient. I understand the anxiety. If you guys are getting too anxious about this, you need to just chill. That means the transfer window is not for you. I am 80 to 90% confident we will get this deal done in the coming week. So let's chill. So regarding another player now linked with Jurgen Timber. Remember last year, Manchester United were actually very keen on this player, but they couldn't get the deal over the line, and they went for his partner in the defensive setup of Ajax, who was Alessandro Martinez, which they signed. So Arsenal are keen on signing these players, and the player is actually keen on coming to Arsenal. So to play as a right-sided defender, and a right back. He has played both positions for Ajax, but predominantly as a right-sided central defender. But he can play a right back very well. He's 22, very athletic, physical, so very good on the ball, which is very, very key to the way Arsenal play football and how we want to move forward in our playing patterns and generally how we play. The first bid went in 2 days ago. David Ornstein reported on that, but that bid was knocked back. I think that was 30 million pounds that was knocked back. I have to say they want 50 million pounds. You are not getting 50 million pounds. According to David, both teams are willing to reach a compromise, and I think that's now pay at most 40 million pounds for this player. I think it's worth it. He's young. We can get 8 years out of him or a resale value. I think he's a very good player. Very as he will fit the inverted right back on the right side of our defense. So it will be our Zinchenko on the right side. So according to Fabrizio on Arsenal and Jurriel Timber, I think they will bid again. There is a conversation between Arsenal and Ajax. On the player's side, the conversation is very positive. So it looks like a very concrete deal between Arsenal and Ajax for Jurriel Timber, and also the player side. So I'm sure this deal will get done. There is no fear that Manchester United or Man City will just swoop in and usurp Arsenal on this deal. I don't think so. Manchester United are still struggling with their potential owner, while Manchester City, I don't think, are interested in this deal. So Arsenal actually moving differently in this window, and I'm loving every part of it. We are trying to bring in versatile players that can play multiple positions at a high level. The key thing, just like Man City, they have players that can play multiple positions at a high level. By you stacking your player roster with two players for one position and some players will not get time to play on the pitch. No, you have to get high quality players that can play at least 2 to 3 positions effectively at a very high level. So there'll be rotation, not that players just sitting in the bench and getting cold. You want to have players that can play multiple positions at high level and can rotate, especially when you're playing the Champions League and competing for the English Premiership. And for me, the quality of the signings and potential signings Arsenal is bringing in to actually deputize for players if they are either injured or arrested are high quality compared to last season. Jesus is out. With all due respect to Nketiah, it's not the same level. Soliba was out. We had to bring in Rob Holding. We saw how the levels drop. So I think Arsenal have learned from those mistakes, and they are trying to make sure this time, if a certain player is out, the next player that deputized for them is at a higher or equal quality, which is fantastic. When did Arsenal have this kind of depth in the squad? That was a long time ago. So I'm loving this. I'm loving this. So guys, if you are watching this on a playback, please make sure you subscribe. Very, very important. Make sure you like the video. Very, very important. This is my first episode doing this late night shenanigans. This will be a fixture, a regular fixture moving forward. Make sure you tune in. Very, very important. The first few I think the first 30 minutes I was trying to get this show done. I had a bit of a mic problem, a technical problem, which I've already fixed. Hopefully tomorrow we will not have the same issue. So I'll be leaving it right there for now. Tomorrow I'll be back to talk about more Arsenal content and any news or any breaking news. I'll be doing it live by this time tomorrow. Like I said, if you're watching this or listening to this on a playback, make sure you like the content, subscribe if you're not yet subscribed, and make sure you turn on the notification bells. And I'll be seeing you guys on the next one. Ciao.